Congratulations again for all your work and for making this innovative project a reality. It is a beautiful facility. For those of you who haven't seen it, find a time to go over, talk to Bart and the company, and come visit. It is a wonderful work. Now to present the Stephen H. Hart Award for Archaeology, I'm pleased to introduce Colorado's State Archaeologist and the Deputy State Historic Preservation Officer, Dr. Richard Wilshire. Richard?
Thank you, Ed. What a pleasure this evening is. It is so great.
Speak to the microphone, Richard.
It is so great. I'm sure. Is it on?
Yeah.
Okay, great. It is so great to have all of you here to celebrate these wonderful awards. When Richard Carrillo first worked at Vence Ford in the 1960s, few archaeologists called themselves historical or urban archaeologists. It is no exaggeration to say that he helped to conceive and to professionalize these aspects of archaeology in the West. In the process, Richard and those he influenced have totally reshaped our understanding of Colorado history in both rural and urban landscapes. His teaching and his civic service are well known. His list of reports is extensive. He has drawn our attention to the history of southeastern Colorado and communities that are far too underrepresented in our history books. He has opened a door to a past we didn't know. Richard is well recognized for his work in the 1860s settlement of Byrsville, but as we've got another tip of the iceberg here, this is only the tip of it. In a broader sense, he's helped us to understand the commerce and bikeways along the Santa Fe Trail. He was a major contributor to CPI's survey of historic ranches in Los Angeles, Otero, and Guerrero counties. In fact, what site in southeastern Colorado hasn't Richard visited? Richard's work and his research are almost always characterized by his commitment to offer college training opportunities, public outreach. For the last 20 years, he's regularly teamed up with archaeological field schools. His outreach to private landowners, local historical societies, small museums has helped to lay the foundation for the preservation network we now have in southeastern Colorado. The sites he investigated have been an avenue for training a steady stream of students, as well as their instructors, in the rapidly evolving discipline of historical archaeology. A high-quality public engagement of his work has transformed our view of what archaeology could reveal about history. The diaries of what we ate and what we drank were subject to editing, but the trash from our residences often reveals a more truthful, slightly less flattering account of our diet. Richard Carrillo has been a pioneer in doing some of the first truly urban archaeology as well. His investigations with Dan Jeffson at the Tremont House Hotel in downtown Denver reveal aspects of 19th century life rarely discussed in the histories of that era. His work showed the slow transformation of a hotel from one of the fine territorial establishments of the 1860s to a flophouse by the time of the Cherry Creek flood of 1912. The fine china and expensive food remains that were in the lowest levels are gradually replaced by the basic foodstuffs and the common utilitarian items of not so vital folks. His report on the Tremont House with Dan Judson was visionary. There are others who know Richard far better than I, and I'm going to let them speak to this in a short clip that follows.
I got a video. Take us home. Oh gosh. we're so much more aware of the history of southeastern Colorado. The Arkansas River Valley and the Purgatory in particular. In all the work he's done on Santa Fe Trail sites and on homesteading sites and really important settlements like Boggsville and important establishments like Vence Fort has been absolutely critical to helping people understand that it really isn't just one group's story. I think without Richard Carrillo, that story would be much poorer. We understand it so much better because of Richard.
You can look at sites like Boggsville, Vence Fort and stuff and see them as individual sites. But one of the things that I've kind of just tried to do is to look at the connections, the integral aspects of what brought all this about. And so you see the importance in terms of the history, how it kind of developed, how, it's not the simple, these sites just kind of appear. They all kind of tie in. And how all that kind of created southeastern Colorado.
Richard has really helped us, I think, understand the material culture of the Hispanos of Colorado, and to think about that both as a sort of extension of what happens in New Mexico, but also something different, that it has this Colorado flavor. And he, in terms of just even being able to recognize what the material culture looks like, but then also really promoting our understanding of these sites, like at Boggsville or at Vence Fort, where we have contributions from a number of different people, in particular the Hispanics of Colorado. His legacy in terms of both the preservation, the knowledge, but then also the training of, I think, generations of students in historical archaeology, it's hard to overstate his impact.
Once you understand the material culture as you're doing your archaeology, and of course, you have an intuitive feeling, but then when you put all these artifacts into a database and start manipulating them, you start seeing the patterns that develop. If you understand that, you can actually reconstruct parts of it. You can go back and see the whole thing, but at least some of the important things that develop from the pattern.
He's still, after all this time working down there, I would think that he would have seen everything. But when he goes out there and finds the site, he has such an eye for detail, and he balances that with an eye for the overarching, with an eye for connections. He can see trails and roads and foundations that the rest of us miss, and he still just gets excited. And so I get excited, and it's really working with Richard, I guess I should say, is just a very happy experience.
It's more than just the fact that he's a great archaeologist and a great historian. He is such a humble person, and he does what he does because he loves it, and because he wants to preserve the archaeology, make the history known. He wants to share that information with people and get other people excited about it. He has become a mentor to me over these years. He's so generous with his knowledge. So it almost is a privilege that I get to work with him as often as I do.
Oh,
That's cool.
you got it all taped. Oh, good. We'll get a copy of that.
I'll send you. I'll get your email address. I'll send it to you.
Join me and welcome and celebrate one of our state treasures, a true visionary of historical and urban archaeology, Richard Carrillo.
Really don't have much to say. The only thing that I would like to all my friends who are here, know who they are, work with them, Dan Jepson, Michelle, Bonnie, and Kathy. My family's here, part of my family, my two sons, and Catherine Tomlin from the Historical Society, Historical Society, and Pat Palmer, who's involved with the Santa Fe Association. It's good to see everybody here. And I'm sorry if I missed Dan and Echo Mom a year or so ago. So not only the individuals that Bonnie and Annette Church that I've worked with, but I continue to work with. Kevin Black and other ones. I look out in the audience for all the people here. Mark Mitchell and then Kevin Gilmore. In fact, Kevin worked with his dad when he did the Tremont House. And that's why I first met Kevin. So anyway, I really appreciate that. And it's true. I mean, you know, the historical archaeology is a critical thing. It's a very important aspect of a site. And it used to always bother me when I come and, you know, serve on the National Register Review Board to see, you know, present a house on the site and then forget everything else. And so what I, you know, try to do is promote, you know, trying to look at the entire context. The house is one thing, outbuildings are another, but you also have all the material culture that's there that you need to try to understand. And if you take the time to do it and look at it, it does start to kind of open up like a book. And kind of, as Richard mentioned earlier, when we were talking about kind of that magical thing that you can't explain that well. So anyway, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And thanks to all of you. To all of you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Dr. Richard Wilshusen, and thank you to our very special friend, Richard Carrillo. One more round of applause. We're going to have a few more important projects.